The day my parents chose my brother's political ambitions over my future, they dressed it up like a celebration. Mum wore her pearls, Dad uncorked a bottle of champagne, and Rex sat there with that practiced smile he'd been perfecting since his first campaign poster. I'm Remy, and this is the story of how I learned that revenge doesn't always wear brass knuckles. Sometimes it wears stilettos and carries a serving tray. To family legacy, Dad raised his glass, crystal catching the afternoon light streaming through our dining room windows, and to making the sacrifices necessary to secure it. I should have known something was wrong when Mum couldn't meet my eyes. I don't understand, I said, my untouched champagne getting warm. What sacrifices? Rex cleared his throat, straightening his tie. Always camera ready, my brother. Remy, honey, Mum started, her voice carrying that artificial sweetness she used at fundraisers. Your father and I have been discussing the family's finances, and with Rex's campaign requiring such significant resources, we're reallocating your college fund, Dad cut in, clean and quick like ripping off a band-aid. The timing of Rex's run is crucial. We can't miss this window. The room went silent. 3 years into pre-law, Dean's List every semester, and they were pulling the plug, just like that. You're joking, I whispered, but nobody laughed. Think of it as your contribution to something bigger than yourself, Rex offered, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled back before he could touch me. My contribution? My voice cracked. I've worked my arse off. I'm 9 months from graduating. Language, Mum scolded reflexively. Dad stood up, switching to his councilman voice. This family has a legacy to uphold. Rex has a real shot at state office. Do you understand what that means? The connections, the influence we could... I understand perfectly. I cut him off, pushing back from the table. Rex gets the golden ticket, and I get to watch from the cheap seats. Again. Don't be dramatic, Mom sighed. There are plenty of jobs that don't require... Actually, Rex interrupted, I might have a solution. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts. Wellington House is looking for new waitstaff. High-end clientele, great tips. I could put in a word. My brother, the generous saviour, offering to help me serve drinks to the same people funding his campaign with what should have been my tuition money. Perfect, Dad clapped his hands together. See? Everything works out. You'll still be part of the political scene, just from a different angle. I stood there, watching them toast to my demotion from law student to waitress, and something inside me shifted. Not broke, shifted. Like tumblers in a lock clicking into place. When do I start? I asked, forcing a smile. That's my girl, Dad beamed, missing the ice in my voice. Taking one for the team. 2 weeks later, I was wearing a black uniform and sensible shoes, learning the difference between red and white wine glasses at Wellington House. The manager handed me my section assignment with an apologetic look. VIP room tonight, she said. Big fundraiser for some hotshot running for state office. Try not to drop anything. I walked into that room at exactly 7:03 p.m, tray balanced carefully as Rex took the podium. He didn't notice me standing there. Just another server in the shadows. Nobody did. Friends, supporters, fellow believers in a brighter tomorrow, he began, that $1 million smile flashing. I stand before you humbled by your generosity. I watched the crowd lean in, enchanted. Watched my parents beam from their front row seats. Watched the champagne bubbles rise in the glasses on my tray. And I realised something that would change everything. Being invisible meant being underestimated. Being underestimated meant people would talk freely around you, share secrets, make deals. Rex finished his speech with a toast. To new beginnings! The crowd echoed him enthusiastically. Crystal glasses clinking. I smiled my first genuine smile of the evening. New beginnings indeed. Rule number 1 of serving VIPs, Bella whispered, as we polished glasses behind the bar. They forget we exist. Rule number 2, their loose lips are your ticket to better tips. 3 weeks into my new life at Wellington House, and I was starting to see what she meant. The leather booths might as well have been confession boxes. Just watch Atticus over there, Bella nodded toward a hedge fund manager who treated the club like his second office. After his second scotch, he practically announces his trades to the room. I glanced over as I arranged fresh lime wedges. Atticus was holding court with 3 other men in suits, worth more than my old semester's tuition. Telling you, he laughed too loud, Tesla's about to tank. Inside source says the battery contract fell through. Short it now. Thank me later. Should we be hearing this? I murmured. Bella shrugged, dark curls bouncing. They think we're furniture. Might as well learn something. That night, I googled how to short stocks on my phone during break. The next morning, I put my tip money where Atticus's mouth was. 5 days later, Tesla dropped 12%, and I made 3 weeks' wages in an hour. Girl, you did not... Bella's eyes widened when I showed her my trading app. From one overheard conversation. These people literally broadcast their moves, I said. Why shouldn't we listen? A commotion near the entrance cut our conversation short. Rex was back, this time with a small entourage of campaign staff and what looked like potential donors. Private room, he announced to the hostess, not recognising me behind the bar. And make sure we're not disturbed. I moved to grab menus, but Bella caught my arm. I've got this one. You don't need that drama tonight. But halfway through their dinner, Bella rushed back to the service station, eyes wide. You need to hear this, she hissed, pulling me toward the kitchen where we could talk privately. Your brother just accepted an envelope from that developer, Marcus, whatever. Straight up mentioned something about zoning changes in exchange for campaign support. My stomach twisted. You sure? Clear as day. They're all drunk on $1,000 wine and thinking nobody's paying attention. I grabbed my phone, opening the notes app. What exactly did they say about zoning? That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of Rex's corruption. I'd suspected that for years. No, I was awake, calculating possibilities. If what I'd overheard was true, certain construction companies would soar once that zoning change went through. You're crazy good at this, Bella said 2 weeks later, watching me check my latest returns. Like, scary good. I'm just paying attention, I shrugged, but she wasn't wrong. Every whispered deal, every drunken boast, every casual mention of upcoming mergers, they were all puzzle pieces. And I was getting better at putting them together. Ladies! A sharp voice made us jump. Cora, one of our regular philanthropists, was watching us with narrow eyes. Less chatting, more serving. Yes, ma'am, we chorused. But as I turned away, she caught my wrist. Be careful, she murmured, her perfectly lined lips barely moving. These walls have ears, and some of those ears belong to people who don't like competition. Before I could respond, she was gone, leaving me with a chill I couldn't shake. That evening, as I cleared Rex's table after another private meeting, I found a crumpled document under a napkin. Campaign contribution records. My hands trembled as I read the highlighted line. $50,000 from a lobbying firm that didn't officially exist. I'll take that! Rex's campaign manager appeared suddenly, snatching the paper. He studied my face. You're new here, right? I nodded, playing dumb. Just started last month, sir. He seemed satisfied with my blank expression, but I'd already memorised the firm's name and date. Later, counting my tips, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and created a new email account. Then I started researching LLC formation. What are you up to? Bella peered over my shoulder. I thought about Cora's warning, about Rex's illegal donations, about all the secrets floating around this place like dust motes in sunlight. Just setting up some insurance, I said quietly, for when these walls start talking. Thanksgiving at home felt like walking into a campaign commercial. Rex's face was plastered across the living room in various poses, shaking hands, pointing at blueprints, gazing thoughtfully into the distance. Mum had even arranged the turkey to face his biggest poster. Pass the gravy, dear. Mum's voice was strained, though her smile remained fixed. I'd watched her credit card get declined at Nordstrom last week while I was on my lunch break. She'd played it off smoothly, switching to another card, but I saw the panic in her eyes. How's the club? Rex asked, not looking up from his phone. Any interesting people coming through? Oh, you know, I kept my voice light. Just the usual crowd. Dad cleared his throat. Speaking of the club, we're planning a major fundraiser there next month. I trust you'll make sure everything runs smoothly. You mean, will I serve drinks quietly while you charge people $1,000 plates to hear Rex talk about family values? Remy, Mum warned. Actually, Rex set down his phone, there's someone I need you to keep an eye on. Margaret from the Daily Tribune. She's been asking questions about campaign finances. Wouldn't know anything about that, I said, cutting into my turkey. I'm just a waitress, remember? The doorbell rang, saving me from the tension. It was Reginald Foster, one of Dad's old political connections. I'd been corresponding with him through a finance forum, though he didn't know it was me. Martin, he boomed. Nicole, happy Thanksgiving. As they exchanged pleasantries, I studied the man who'd been helping me set up my investment structure. He was shorter in person, with shrewd eyes behind expensive glasses. And this must be Rex, he smiled, then turned to me. And you are? The help, I said, before anyone could introduce me. Excuse me, I need to check on dessert. From the kitchen, I heard them discussing Rex's latest polling numbers. Then, shame about that photo situation, Reginald said. How much did that cost to handle? Under control, Dad replied quickly. The young lady understood our position. I froze. Photo situation? Later that night, scrolling through my work photos, I found it. A glimpse of Rex in the background of a staff picture, getting cosy with someone who definitely wasn't his fiancée. The woman looked familiar, because she was a regular at Wellington House. My phone buzzed with an email from Reginald's office, responding to my LLC inquiry under my anonymous account. Everything was set up. Phantom Legacy, LLC was officially registered. The next day at work, Bella pulled me aside during pre-shift. Your brother's team was here early, she whispered, talking to that woman from the photo. She looked scared. How much? I asked. Heard them mention 50 grand to keep quiet. I logged into my trading account between serving rounds. Rex's main campaign donor, a construction company, had just announced a surprise board meeting. Their stock was about to either soar or plummet. Miss? Atticus called from his usual spot. Another scotch, and tell that brother of yours he's doing a hell of a job with that zoning initiative. My firm's already positioning for the changes. I served his drink with a smile, then excused myself to the bathroom. 3 minutes later, I'd shorted the construction company's stock with every cent I had. You're playing a dangerous game, a voice said behind me as I emerged. It was Cora, reapplying her lipstick in the mirror. I don't know what you mean. She turned, eyes sharp. The trades, the notes, the way you hover near certain conversations. You're smart, girl, but smart can get you killed in these circles. Are you threatening me? Warning you, she capped her lipstick, because someone else is watching too, a reporter, Penny something. My heart skipped. Why are you telling me this? Cora's smile was sad, because 20 years ago, I was you, invisible, underestimated, angry. She headed for the door, then paused. Just remember, revenge is like a fine wine. Serve it too early, it's bitter. Too late, it loses its bite. I watched her leave, then checked my phone. The construction company's stock had started to drop. In my pocket, my new LLC card felt heavy with possibility. Your brother's screwed, Atticus slurred, 4 scotches deep into a Tuesday night. That zoning deal, the private jet rides, someone's going to connect those dots. I kept wiping the bar, face neutral, but my ears were burning. More ice, sir? The developer promised him everything, he continued, waving off the ice. Trips, donations, even a piece of the project. But you know what they say about paper trails. My phone buzzed in my apron. A notification from my trading app. The development company's stock was already dipping on rumours of an investigation. Atticus! A sharp voice cut in. You're drunk. It was Penny Allen from the Tribune, notebook visible in her designer bag. I'd seen her around more lately, always watching, always listening. Just telling it like it is, Atticus grinned. Ask the waitress, and she's heard it all. Penny's eyes locked onto mine. Have you? I just served drinks, I said, but my hand shook slightly as I wiped down the bar. After they left, Bella rushed over. Girl, you need to see this. She thrust her phone at me, a social media post showing Rex boarding a private jet with the developer's logo. The internet never forgets, I murmured. Neither do journalists, came a voice behind us. Penny had returned, settling onto a bar stool. So Remy, that's your name, right? Let's talk about what you've overheard in this place. My throat went dry. I don't. Save it, she cut me off. I've been watching. You're always in the right place at the right time, always within earshot of interesting conversations. And somehow, certain stocks tank right after big meetings here. Sounds like quite a theory. It's not a theory when I have proof. She slid an envelope across the bar. Inside were security camera screenshots, me taking notes, me checking my phone after conversations, me lingering near private rooms. "What do you want?" I kept my voice steady. "A source," she said simply. "Someone on the inside. Help me expose the corruption, and I'll keep your name out of it." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. A text from Rex. "Someone's shorting our donors' stocks. Find out who." "Think about it." Penny stood up, leaving her card. Tick-tock. Later that night, I met Reginald at a quiet coffee shop across town. He looked amused as I slid into the booth. "So you're my mysterious investor," he said. "Martin's invisible daughter. I should have known." "Will you expose me?" He laughed. "My dear, I've been waiting for someone to take this family down a peg. Your brother's arrogance is writing checks his reputation can't cash." "I need to move faster," I said. "A reporter's on to me." "Penny Allen?" When I nodded, he smiled. "She's good, but she's not the only one with evidence." He pulled out his phone, showing me emails, documents, photos, a trail of Rex's corruption going back years. "How did you—" "Let's just say I've been collecting insurance policies. The question is, are you ready to use them?" I thought about the security footage, about Penny's threat, about Rex's text. "What's the play?" "Release everything, but not through the press." He leaned forward. "Through the SEC, the FBI. Let the system your brother's gaming work against him." My hands trembled as I reached for my coffee. That would destroy him. The whole family. "Isn't that what you wanted?" Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a news alert. Questions arise about campaign finance in state race. It was starting. I looked up at Reginald. "Do it." He nodded once, then stood to leave. At the door, he paused. "Your father once told me you weren't cut out for politics. I think he was wrong. You're just playing a longer game." That night at Wellington House, Rex stormed in, face red. "Someone's talking!" he shouted at his campaign manager. "Find the leak!" I served them their usual drinks, invisible as always. But this time, when Rex raised his glass, I caught his eye and held it for just a moment too long. For the first time in years, I saw a flicker of fear cross his face. The explosion came on a Wednesday morning. Every major news network ran the same headline: "State candidate implicated in pay-for-play scandal." Below it, security footage from Wellington House showed Rex accepting envelopes, making deals, boarding private jets. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. First Rex. "Family emergency meeting, now." Then Bella. "OMG, turn on the news." Finally, Penny. "Smart girl. Should have talked to me first." I ignored them all and opened my trading app instead. The markets were reacting exactly as I'd predicted. Every company connected to Rex's campaign was in freefall. "This is a witch hunt." Dad's voice boomed through the house when I arrived. He was pacing, phone pressed to his ear. "Get our lawyers on it. All of them." Mom sat on the couch, hand pressed to her forehead. "The Thompsons just pulled their donation. $3 million. Gone." "Where's Rex?" I asked, playing concerned sister. "Damage control," Dad snapped. "Unlike some people, he's actually trying to save this family's reputation." The doorbell rang. Mom jumped up to answer it, probably hoping for good news. Instead, she found a process server. "Mrs. Lowe?" He held out a thick envelope. "You've been served. The SEC is investigating your family's financial dealings." I watched the colour drain from her face as she read the documents. "Martin," she whispered, "they're freezing our accounts." Dad grabbed the papers, his hands shaking. "This is impossible. We were careful. Nobody knew." "Knew what, Dad?" I asked innocently. "About the illegal contributions, the insider trading, the bribes." He looked at me sharply. "What do you know about it?" "Only what I've overheard. You know, serving drinks to all those important people at the club." The realization hit him slowly, then all at once. "You," he breathed. "You've been learning," I finished. "Isn't that what you wanted? For me to learn about the real world?" Mum sank back onto the couch. "Remy, what have you done?" "Me? Nothing. I just listened, watched, invested wisely." I pulled out my phone, showing them my trading account. "Look how well I've done. Aren't you proud?" Dad lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. "You ungrateful little—" "Martin!" Mom shrieked as he raised his hand. Go ahead, I said calmly. Hit me. Give the reporters outside another story. He froze, finally noticing the news vans gathering at the end of our driveway. My phone buzzed again. Reginald. Phase 2 ready. Give the word. You know what the funny thing is? I looked at my parents. I found my old college notebook yesterday. Calculated how much law school would have cost. Less than what Rex spent on private jets this month alone. We did everything for this family, Mom whispered. No, I corrected her. You did everything for Rex. And now you're going to lose everything for Rex. The front door burst open. Rex stumbled in, tie askew, eyes wild. They're coming. FBI, SEC, everyone. We need to. He stopped short seeing me. What's she doing here? Watching, I said simply. It's what I do best, remember? You, he snarled, finally connecting the dots. You're the leak. Actually, you were the leak. I just took notes. Dad's phone rang, their accountant. Even from across the room, I could hear the panic in his voice. Something about margin calls, defaulted loans, imminent bankruptcy. I gathered my purse, heading for the door. Better answer that. Sounds important. Remy, please, Mom called after me. We're still family. I paused, thinking about my old law school acceptance letter, still creased from where Dad had folded it into a paper airplane at dinner that night. Family? I turned back. Family doesn't steal futures. Family doesn't choose favourites. Family doesn't... A knock at the door cut me off. Through the glass, we could see federal agents, badges gleaming. I have to go, I said. My shift at Wellington House starts soon. Lots of interesting conversations to overhear about the scandal. As I walked past the news vans, my phone lit up one last time. A notification from my bank, another stock plunge, another fortune made. I smiled, thinking of my old college notebook. I could buy the whole law school now. The knock on my apartment door came at 2 a.m. I knew it was Mom before I even checked the peephole. Only she would show up in the middle of the night wearing full makeup and pearls, as if the cameras were still watching. We're losing the house, she said, without preamble, pushing past me into the living room. The bank. They're calling in all the loans. I poured her a glass of water. She stared at it like it was poison. Where's Rex? Bahamas? Or Belize? Somewhere without extradition. Her hands trembled. Your father's talking about suing everyone. The media, the FBI, the banks. With what money? She looked up sharply. That's why I'm here. Your tips, your savings. We know you're good with money, honey. Maybe you could... Stop! I set my glass down hard enough to make her jump. You want me to bail out the family that stole my future? We didn't steal. You took my college fund, my chance at law school, my entire life plan. For the greater good. She stood up, pearls clicking. For the family name. And how's that working out for you? Before she could answer, my phone buzzed. Bella. 911. Check your email now. I opened my laptop, Mum watching over my shoulder. There it was, a draft of Bella's latest Instagram expose. Behind the power, a server's view of political corruption. She's been documenting everything, I whispered. Every meeting, every deal. Including your little investment scheme, Mum's voice turned cold. She knows what you've been doing with the information you overheard. My fingers flew across the keyboard, messaging Bella. What do you want? The response came instantly. A cut. Or I hit publish. Mum laughed bitterly. Like mother, like daughter. We all have our price. I closed the laptop slowly. Get out. Remy, now! After she left, I called Reginald. Despite the hour, he answered on the first ring. The house, I said. How fast can we move? Papers are ready, just waiting on you. I thought about Mum's pearls, Dad's threats, Rex's escape. Do it. The next morning, Bella cornered me in the storage room at Wellington House. Did you see... How much? I cut her off. She named a figure that would have shocked me 6 months ago. Now it was pocket change. Done, I said. But you hold the story. Why? This could make me huge on social. Because I'm about to give you something better. Later that day, Penny Allen slid onto her usual bar stool. Interesting times. Getting more interesting, I replied, sliding her a USB drive. Everything you need to connect the dots. Bank records, emails, trading patterns. Why now? Because the game's changing. Check your inbox in an hour. At exactly noon, every major financial institution holding my family's loans received the same email. An offer to buy their debt at 60 cents on the dollar. The sender, Phantom Legacy, LLC. Dad called while I was serving lunch. I let it go to voicemail. "You think you're so clever," his voice cracked with rage. "But we'll fight this. Every lawyer in the state—" "Can't help you," Reginald interrupted, taking the phone. He'd appeared at the bar without me noticing. "Your daughter owns your debt now, legally, cleanly, completely." I could hear Dad's breathing get heavy. "How much to make this go away?" "That's not how this works," I said, taking back the phone. "You can't buy your way out this time." "Then what do you want?" I thought about all the nights I'd stayed up studying law books, dreaming of justice. "I want you to feel what I felt. Powerless, invisible, at someone else's mercy." "We're still your family," he tried. "No," I said softly. "You're my investment, and I'm deciding whether to hold or sell." I hung up as Penny started typing furiously on her laptop. The headline would run tomorrow: "Political dynasty faces financial ruin. Daughter holds the keys." Bella raised an eyebrow from across the bar. "Worth more than an Instagram story?" I nodded, watching Reginald leave with my signed paperwork. Some revenge is better served in silence. "And some," he called back, "is better served with a banker's signature." The conference room at First National Bank felt smaller than I remembered from childhood visits with Dad. Back then, he'd parade through here like he owned the place. Today, he sat hunched in a leather chair, staring at the paperwork in front of him. "The terms are simple," Reginald explained, every inch the professional executor. "Phantom Legacy LLC will assume all outstanding debts in exchange for the family's assets." Mum's hand shook as she reached for her water glass. "And who exactly owns this company?" I smoothed my grey silk dress, a far cry from my Wellington House uniform, and stepped forward from the shadows. "I do." The silence that followed was deafening. "Impossible," Dad whispered. "You're a waitress." "I was a waitress," I corrected. "Now, I'm your creditor." Mom's eyes narrowed at the LLC name. "Phantom Legacy. That's from your old diary, the one where you used to write about being invisible," I finished. "Funny how things work out." Dad lunged to his feet. "This is a trick. You couldn't possibly have the resources to—" "6 months of overheard conversations," I cut in. 6 months of insider trades, strategic investments, and watching you dig your own graves. Do you know how much money flows through those Wellington House conversations?" "We'll fight this," he sputtered. "Our lawyers are already here." Reginald gestured to the suits lining the walls. "They've reviewed everything. It's ironclad." Mum started to cry, perfectly silent tears that wouldn't smudge her makeup. "Why, Remy, we're your parents." "Were you?" I stepped closer. "When you took my college fund? When you made me serve drinks to people who looked through me like I was furniture? When you chose Rex's ambition over my dreams?" "We did it for the family name," Dad insisted. "No." I placed my hands on the table, leaning forward. "You did it for power, for pride, for a son who abandoned you the moment things got tough. Where is Rex now? Still hiding in Belize?" The lawyers shifted uncomfortably. One cleared his throat. "The paperwork requires immediate signatures." I watched them stare at the documents, at the name of my company printed in clean black letters. Everything they'd built, everything they'd sacrificed others to protect, would now belong to the daughter they'd discarded. "You know what the worst part was?" I said softly. "I would have given it all up willingly if you'd just asked. If you'd treated me like family instead of a sacrifice." Dad's pen hovered over the signature line. "And if we sign? You keep the house as tenants, you maintain social appearances, but every dollar you spend, every move you make, goes through me first." "You're enjoying this?" Mum accused. "No," I met her eyes. "I'm surviving it. Just like I survived everything else you put me through." The pens scratched against paper. One by one, they signed away their empire to the ghost daughter they'd created. As they stood to leave, Dad turned back. "Was it worth it? Destroying your family for revenge?" I thought about my old law school acceptance letter, still framed on my wall. About the nights I'd cried myself to sleep in my tiny apartment. About the weight of invisibility turned into armour. "This isn't revenge," I said. "It's justice." something I learned about while serving drinks in the club you exiled me to. And what will you do with all this power? Mom asked, gesturing at the paperwork. I smiled, thinking of the email sitting in my inbox from the law school dean. I'm going to build something new, something honest. They left without another word, shoulders bent under the weight of their choices. Reginald gathered the papers, pausing at the door. Your father once told me power was about making others bend to your will. And what do you think? I think true power is about standing straight when others try to bend you. He nodded at the documents. Congratulations, Miss Lowe. You now own your family's legacy. Boy, I stayed in that conference room long after everyone left, watching the city lights come on through the windows. My phone buzzed. Bella sending a link to Penny's latest article, The Invisible Heiress, How a Waitress Outplayed the Power Brokers. I closed the browser without reading it. Some victories don't need headlines. They just need signatures. The dean's office still smelled like old books and ambition. Through the window, I could see students crossing the law school campus, carrying the same dreams I once had. This is quite unprecedented, Dean Roberts said, sliding the donation agreement across his desk. A full scholarship fund specifically for students who've had their education interrupted by family obligations. Or family betrayals, I added quietly. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. The Phantom Legacy Scholarship. Interesting name. It felt appropriate. And the additional donation for the new library wing? Considerate interest on a delayed education. My phone buzzed. A text from Bella in LA. Influencer life is wild. Miss our Wellington House days, though. You changed everything. Before I could respond, another message came through. Mum. The house feels empty without the campaign posters. Your father finally took them down. I tucked the phone away as the dean signed the papers. You know, he said, we still have your old acceptance letter on file. The offer stands. Thank you. I stood up, smoothing my dress. But I've learned different lessons than the ones taught here. Outside, a familiar figure waited by the campus coffee cart. Penny? I nodded. Nice donation. She fell into step beside me. Very public-spirited. Unlike your latest article about Rex being spotted in Monaco. She grinned. The FBI appreciated that tip, by the way. Extradition papers are already filed. We reached my car, where Reginald waited, ever the careful advisor. The markets are responding well to the restructuring, he reported. Your family's old companies are stabilising under new management. Speaking of family, Penny cut in, your parents' country club membership is up for renewal. Approve or deny. I thought about Mum's text, about Dad taking down the posters. Approve, but cut the spending limit in half. Still watching over them, Reginald observed. Someone has to. My next stop was Wellington House. Not as a waitress, I'd bought controlling interest last month. Cora sat at her usual table, raising a knowing eyebrow as I approached. The student becomes the master, she mused. You knew, didn't you? From the beginning? I knew you were either going to crash and burn, or soar spectacularly. She sipped her wine. Glad it was the latter. The afternoon light slanted through the windows, catching the crystal glasses just like that first night when Rex gave his campaign speech. Now those same windows reflected a different scene. My reflection, standing tall in designer clothes that I'd bought myself. Miss, a young waitress appeared at my elbow. There's a call for you. Someone named Rex. My brother, finally surfacing. Probably needed money, or help, or both. Take a message, I said. I'm having dinner with more important people. I sat with Cora, ordering the most expensive wine on the menu, because I could, because I'd earned it, because sometimes the best revenge is living well. To invisible women, Cora raised her glass. Not anymore, I corrected her. To visible consequences. My phone lit up one last time. A notification from my trading app, another successful day. Below it, a text from Dad. We were wrong. I'm sorry. I stared at those 3 words for a long moment before typing back, I know. Then I put the phone away and looked around the club where everything had started, where whispered conversations had become weapons, where being overlooked had become an advantage, where a waitress had learned to turn silence into power. You know what the funny thing is, I said to Cora. They thought they were teaching me about the real world when they took away my dreams. And what did you learn instead? I watched the sunset paint the room golden, thinking of scholarship funds and second chances, of justice and consequences, of power and how to wear it. I learned that some legacies aren't given, I said finally. They're taken, built, earned. And now, I smiled, raising my glass to the future I'd carved out of their betrayal. Now I build something better. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just living well, it's living true to yourself, even when others try to make you disappear. Especially then,